What the hell? My media thing's not even working either. Play? What the hell happened, bro? I gotta get a new thing. I don't know if stream... Because my thing was working the whole time and updating, so I didn't lose internet. No, because I'm literally looking at it through... Robinhood's still updating. Okay, turn that down. Yeah, I think my StreamYard disconnected. But I didn't lose power. I think it was... What's the other one called? Streamlabs? Is it made by the same people? Streamlabs multi-stream add-on? Is that it? Restream? There's 8 million streamers worldwide. What's the other? Is it called Streamlabs? Yeah. Streamlabs. Simple tool to go live, popular platform. Go live in minutes on any platform. Yeah, I might switch over to Streamlabs. That's the second time now that I've had issues with StreamYard. Because I can't even see my stream on my own thing now. On my own live page. Fucking shit, man. It's going so well, too. How much is Streamlabs? Products? Whoa, this is weird. Is it free or how much is it? Streamlabs. Ultra, maybe? How much is Ultra? I have to sign in just to see the price. Really? I guess I'll check that out later. Yeah, StreamYard's not it. How much is Streamlabs Ultra? $27 a month. That's not bad. I think I pay StreamYard like $25 a month. Yeah, I might look into getting that one then. Because if I'm gonna pay $25 a month, the other time it was completely frozen, and then this time it just resets everything. Ew. Let's see if we can find Jerome Powell's thing. All right, I found it. Should be in 5 minutes though. StreamYard, bro. Just lost all my shit too. At least my other media assets saved. You ever watch Meet Kevin? I used to back in the day. Not so much anymore. Not really so much anymore, man. I watch a lot of Ben Mala. I haven't seen Meet Kevin in forever. He used to get like recommended to me, but he doesn't anymore. Oh, he's live too. Holy shit, 11K watching. Well, I guess when you have 2 million subscribers. Holy crap, he uploads a lot. How the hell? All of these were from a day ago? These have to be just clips from his live stream. There's no way. Oh my goodness, bro. Why did he start doing this? He used to get such good views and like... No wonder I don't get recommended his shit no more. He just constantly just keeps fucking posting. He live streams and clips. Yeah, he shows investing in his shit too much now. Way too many videos for me. I wouldn't be able to keep up with it. I don't get why they do that. You have 2 million subscribers. Why not focus? Like, if I had that much, really, it's quality over quantity. I mean, I know if you've ever seen Penguin Zero, Moist Critical, like he does that where he'll post, you know, videos from his live stream, which is fine, but well, actually, I think he does it the same way, except Moist is a little different. He's more general. He's not really investing. 2 minutes, man. 2 minutes. I guess I'll turn off these media assets and then we'll try to get this. I just want to see. I'm not going to actually be able to hear anything right now. Actually, let me see if I can hear this. Let me see if I can hear this. Let me see. I got an ad on my own thing. Okay, yeah, I can hear. We get. Should be in 1 minute. You should be speaking in 1 minute. Does it depend on the tie? Usually it depends on the tie, right? If it's like a purple tie, it's up or something like that. You are on the wrong end of aggressive ads now. Wait a minute. Did I fix that? Let me go to my live stream. Did I fix that? Shit. Hold on. Analytics. No. Monetization. Yeah. We got it on aggressive. We good. Should be coming less than a minute. Where's he at? 2:30. Come on, walk through the door. Which tie is it? Is it a purple tie or a red tie? I don't remember. Uh-oh. I just want to see this first. Good evening. I didn't do it.
Achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. Despite elevated uncertainty, the economy is in a solid position. The unemployment rate remains low, and the labor market is at or near maximum employment. Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. We believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments. I'll have more to say about monetary policy after briefly reviewing economic developments. Following growth of 2.5% last year, GDP was reported to have edged down in the first quarter, reflecting swings in net exports that were driven by businesses bringing in imports ahead of potential tariffs. This unusual swing has complicated GDP measurement. Private domestic final purchases, or PDFP, as we call them, which excludes net exports, inventory investment, and government spending, grew at a solid 2.5% rate. Within PDFP, growth of consumer spending moderated, while investment in equipment and intangibles rebounded from weakness in the fourth quarter. Surveys of households and businesses, however, report a decline in sentiment over recent months.
Hell
And
yeah.
elevated uncertainty about the economic outlook,
Shit's expensive.
largely reflecting trade policy concerns. It remains to be seen how these developments might affect future spending and investment. In our summary of economic projections, the median participant projects GDP to rise 1.4% this year and 1.6% next year, somewhat slower than projected in March. In the labor market, conditions have remained solid. Payroll job gains averaged 135,000 per month over the past 3 months. The unemployment rate at 4.2% remains low and has stayed in a narrow range for the past year. Wage growth has continued to moderate while still outpacing inflation. Overall, a wide set of indicators suggests that conditions in the labor market are broadly in balance and consistent with maximum employment. The labor market is not a source of significant inflationary pressures. The median projection for the unemployment rate in the SEP is 4.5% at the end of this year and next, a bit higher than projected in March. Inflation has eased significantly from its highs in mid-2022, but remains somewhat elevated relative to our 2% longer run goal. Estimates based on the Consumer Price Index and other data indicate that total PCE prices rose 2.3% over the 12 months ending in May, and that excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 2.6%. Near-term measures of inflation expectations have moved up over recent months, as reflected in both market and survey-based measures. Respondents to surveys of consumers, businesses, and professional forecasters point to tariffs as the driving factor. Beyond the next year or so, however, most measures of longer-term expectations remain consistent with our 2% inflation goal. The median projection in the SEP for total PCE inflation this year is 3%, somewhat higher than projected in March. The median inflation projection falls to 2.4% in 2026 and 2.1% in 2027. Our monetary policy actions are guided by our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. At today's meeting, the committee decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 4.25% to 4.5%, and to continue reducing the size of our balance sheet. We will continue to determine the appropriate stance of monetary policy based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. Changes to trade, immigration, fiscal, and regulatory policies continue to evolve, and their effects on the economy remain uncertain. The effects of tariffs will depend, among other things, on their ultimate level. Expectations of that level, and thus of the related economic effects, reached a peak in April and have since declined. Even so, increases in tariffs this year are likely to push up prices and weigh on economic activity. The effects on inflation could be short-lived, reflecting a one-time shift in the price level. It's also possible that the inflationary effects could instead be more persistent. Avoiding that outcome will depend on the size of the tariff effects, on how long it takes for them to pass through fully into prices, and ultimately on keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Our obligation is to keep longer-term inflation expectations well anchored and to prevent a one-time increase in the price level from becoming an ongoing inflation problem. As we act to meet that obligation, we will balance our maximum employment and price stability mandates, keeping in mind that without price stability, we cannot achieve the long periods of strong labor market conditions that benefit all Americans. We may find ourselves in the challenging scenario in which our dual mandate goals are in tension. If that were to occur, we would consider how far the economy is from each goal and the potentially different time horizons over which those respective gaps would be anticipated to close. For the time being, we are well positioned to wait to learn more about the likely course of the economy before considering any adjustments to our policy stance. In our SEP, FOMC participants wrote down their individual assessments of an appropriate path for the federal funds rate based on what each participant judges to be the most likely scenario going forward. The median participant projects that the appropriate level of the federal funds rate will be 3.9% at the end of this year, the same as projected in March. The median projection declines to 3.6% at the end of next year and to 3.4% at the end of 2027, a little higher than the March projection.
Oops, sorry.
These individual forecasts are always subject to uncertainty, and as I've noted, uncertainty is unusually elevated. And of course, these projections are not a committee plan or decision. At this meeting, the committee continued its discussions as part of our 5-year review of our monetary policy framework. We focused on issues related to assessing the risks and uncertainties that are relevant for monetary policy and the potential implications for policy strategy and communications. Our review includes outreach and public events involving a wide range of parties, including Fed Listens events around the country and a research conference that we held last month. We are open to new ideas and critical feedback, and we will take on board lessons of the last 5 years in determining our findings. We intend to wrap up any modifications to our statement on longer run goals and monetary policy strategy by late summer. After that, we will consider enhancements to our suite of communications tools, including the SEP. The Fed has been assigned 2 goals for monetary policy: maximum employment and stable prices. We remain committed to supporting maximum employment, bringing inflation sustainably to our 2% goal, and keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Our success in delivering on these goals matters to all Americans. We understand that our actions affect communities, families, and businesses across the country. Everything we do is in service to our public mission, and we at the Fed will do everything we can to achieve our maximum employment and price stability goals. Thank you. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Colby Smith with the New York Times. To what extent has the more limited impact from tariffs at this stage on inflation changed your view on what the ultimate economic fallout will be from these policies and the timing of when they will materialize in the data?
So we've had 3 months of favorable inflation readings since the high readings of January and February, and that's, of course, highly welcome news. Part of that just is that services, core services, both housing services and non-housing services, have really been grinding down toward levels that are consistent with 2% inflation. So that's the good news. We've had goods inflation just moving up a bit, and of course we expect, as you point out, we do expect to see more of that over the course of the summer. It takes some time for tariffs to work their way through the chain of distribution to the end consumer. A good example of that would be goods being sold at retailers today may have been imported several months ago before tariffs were imposed. So we're beginning to see some effects, and we do expect to see more of them over coming months. We do also see price increases in some of the relevant categories like personal computers and audiovisual equipment and things like that are attributable to tariff increases. In addition, we look at surveys of businesses, and there are many of those, and you do see a range of things, but many companies do expect to put all or or some or all of the effect of tariffs through to the next person in the chain, and ultimately to the consumer. Today, the amount of the amount of the tariff effects, the size of the tariff effects, their duration and the time it will take are all highly uncertain. So that is why we think the appropriate thing to do is to hold where we are as we learn more. And we think our policy stance is in a good place where we're well positioned to react to incoming developments.
So in terms of how we should interpret the rate cuts penciled into the SEP, is this reflecting that there's this expectation that underlying inflation will just stay well enough contained that allows the committee to eventually move ahead with those cuts? Or is it about, responding to a deterioration in economic activity, let's say? I mean, how should we make sense of the forecast?
So if you look at the forecast, you will see that people do generally expect inflation to move up and then to come back down. But we can't just assume that. Of course, we don't know that. And, our job is to make sure, one of our jobs is to make sure that a one-time increase in inflation doesn't turn into an inflation problem. And that, again, that will depend on the size of the effects, how long it takes for them to come in, and ultimately on keeping inflation expectations anchored.
Hi, and thanks, Chair. Howard Schneider with Reuters. If you look at the rate path starting in December to today and adjust it over the full time horizon you've got there, you've taken about a quarter point per year out of your projected path, and you end at a higher rate at 2027 than you would have in the prior forecast. Is that a result of a sense that tariffs will lead to more persistent inflation? Is it a result of reassessments of where your short-term neutral rate is? Why are you on a slower path now?
So I would focus most on the nearer term as you get out to the later years. It's hard for anybody to know where the economy is going. You didn't see people moving their longer term, estimate of the neutral rate, for example, at this meeting. So and those things are probably slow moving. So I think if you look at what's happening here since March, this is since March, right? You see a little slower growth, just a tiny tick up, a 1/10 tick up in unemployment, and you see inflation moving up 0.3. And by the way, it was a similar move from the December SEP to the March. So that's what you see. You see the effects of tariffs. I think we learned in April after the March meeting that substantially higher tariffs were likely, and then since then, the estimates of where the tariffs will be have actually moved back down, although still at an elevated level. So we're adapting in real time. And what you see is an accumulation of individual assessments.
You say in the statement that risks have diminished on that front, but the July 9th, drop dead date for all the Liberation Day tariffs is still out there and unresolved. You've got now exchange of missiles between two Middle East adversaries with a possible U.S. involvement. How can you justify saying that risks have diminished?
So what we said was that uncertainty uncertainty about the economic outlook has diminished but remains elevated. Many surveys say that they do. So and that's actually a line from the Teal book, which you can see in 5 years. Remember to check that.
Maybe the world will do.
No, but if you think about it, tariff uncertainty really peaked in April, and since then has come down. And that's really what that's just acknowledging. It's diminished, but still elevated. That it's uncertainty. So I think that's an accurate statement.
Thank you. Chris Regaber at Associated Press. There is an argument out there in favor of cutting rates more immediately. Inflation has continued to cool and is back at roughly 2% despite the tariffs. And I guess I also wanted to ask about, cracks in the job market with gross hiring slowing, concentrated in just a few industries. We've seen some housing data, including this morning, that has been pretty weak. Do you see any concerns that the economy is weakening and that is a reason to cut rates going forward?
So we do of course monitor all those things. I think if you look at the overall picture, what you're seeing is 4.2% unemployment and an economy that's growing at a rate hard to know given the unusual flows in the first quarter, but it appears to be 1.5%, 2%, maybe a little better than that. Sentiment has come up off of its very low levels. It's still depressed. So, you can point to things. The housing market is a longer run problem and also a short run problem. I don't think it's indicative of, basically the situation is we have a longer run shortage of housing, and we also have high rates right now. I think the best thing we can do for the housing market is to restore price stability in a sustainable way and create a strong labor market. And that's the best thing we can do for the housing market. You asked about the job market. Again, look at labor force participation, look at wages, look at job creation. They're all at healthy levels now. I would say you can see perhaps a very, very slow continued cooling, but nothing that's troubling at this time. But we watch it very, very carefully. So overall, again, the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to economic developments, and for now, and we'll be watching the data carefully.
Well, just quickly on, given that there are concerns inflation will rise, but there is the alternate scenario that tariffs would create demand destruction and slow growth sufficiently, and that would perhaps keep a bit of a lid on inflation. Do you see odds of that scenario? What kind of odds do you see of that scenario coming true, and how many months of cool inflation would you need to see before concluding that maybe that lower inflation scenario is taking place?
So this is very much the conversation we had today and yesterday. There are many, many different scenarios, many combinations of scenarios where inflation does or doesn't prove out to be at the levels we think, and where the labor market does or doesn't soften. And I think what you see people doing is looking ahead at a time of very high uncertainty and writing down what they think the most likely case is. No one holds these rate paths with a great deal of conviction, and everyone would agree that they're all going to be data dependent, and that you can make a case for any of the rate paths, I think, that you see in the SEP. And we do this once a quarter. It's a hard thing to do particularly at this time, but it does reflect. If you see somebody writing down a rate path that involves cuts, that's them saying, yes, I think we will get to a place, more likely than not, where cuts will be appropriate. And it could be a joint probability of a number of possible outcomes. Again, remember how much uncertainty we face, though.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I wonder if you could describe for us some of those scenarios. How do you get to a place? I'm noticing that the uncertainty levels in your forecast are very high. How do you get to a place where you have the confidence in the outlook for, say, inflation and or growth or the unemployment rate? How many months does it take, and what do you want to see in the data to get to that level of confidence to actually reduce rates off the restrictive level?
So it's very, very hard to say when that will happen. We know that the time will come. It could come quickly. It could not come quickly. As long as the economy is solid, though, as long as we're seeing the kind of labor market that we have and reasonably decent growth and inflation moving down, we feel like the right thing to do is to be where we are, where our policy stance is, and just learn more. And in particular, we feel like we're going to learn a great deal more over the summer on tariffs. We hadn't expected them to show up much by now, and they haven't. And we will see whether, to the extent to which they do over coming months. And I think that's going to inform our thinking, for one thing. In addition, we'll see how the labor market progresses. So at some point it will become clear. I can't tell you exactly when that will be. And meanwhile, we'll be watching the labor market very carefully for signs of weakness and strength, and tariffs for signs of what's going to happen there. And of course, there are many developments ahead. Even in the near term, developments are expected on tariffs. So I think we don't yet know with any confidence where they will settle out. We have an estimate, and I think all estimates are now pretty close together, but it's highly uncertain.
When you say estimate of the impact of tariffs on the core PCE, is that what it is? And could you share that?
What you start with is what's the effective tariff rate overall, and people are managing to that. But the pass through of tariffs to consumer price inflation is a whole process that's very uncertain. As you know, there are many parties in that chain. There's the manufacturer, the exporter, the importer, the retailer, and the consumer. And each one of those is going to be trying not to be the one to pay for the tariff, but together they will all pay for it together, or maybe one party will pay it all. But that process is very hard to predict, and we haven't been through a situation like this, and I think we have to be humble about our ability to forecast it. So that's why we need to see some actual data to to make better decisions, we'd like to get some more data. And again, in the meantime, we can do that because the economy remains in solid condition.
Nick Tamarosa, the Wall Street Journal. Chair Powell, I guess I'm wondering if you could explain a little bit more the divergence we see in the dot plot, particularly around the 2025 rate projections. I realize this is, you have one group of officials that are putting down no cuts, another that are putting down more than one. And again, recognizing that could be difficult to summarize, but is it a matter of people having a different outlook or a different reaction function, a different commitment to defending against another inflation mistake? How did that play out over the last 2 days?
So you're right. This is often the case. We have a pretty healthy diversity of views on the committee. We did have strong support for today's decision and broad agreement that our policy stance does leave us in a good place. But I would point to two factors, and you mentioned them. The first is just that parties have a diversity of forecasts. And they do align with where their dots are. So if you have a higher inflation forecast, you're going to be less likely to be writing down, more cuts. But remember, as we see more data, we're going to learn more about where inflation is headed, and that means when it is time to look at resuming our normalization process, the differences you see should be smaller because we'll have seen actual data. Right now, it's just a forecast in a very foggy time. So that's the first part, is forecast. Secondly, people can look at the same data and they can evaluate the risks differently, as you know. And that includes, the risk of higher inflation, the risk that it'll be more persistent, the risk that the labor market will weaken. People are going to have different assessments of that risk. So that you put that in there too. So those are the two ways that the two things I think that drive these things. Remember though, as I mentioned earlier, with uncertainty as elevated as it is, no one holds these rate paths with a lot of conviction. So that's really where it is. It's a function of those things. And I think as the data come in, you should see those differences diminish.
If I could follow up, you've said the policy is in a good place and that it's modestly restrictive. Given all the uncertainty you just talked about, tariff levels, uncertainty around the pass-through, is it price increases versus margin compression, some of the softness that Chris talked about in labor and housing, why wouldn't it be better to have rates at a more neutral setting as the economy heads into this period of very high uncertainty?
So if you just look backward at the data, that's what you would say, but that's not, we have to be forward looking. And the thing that every forecaster, every outside forecaster and the Fed is saying is that we expect a meaningful amount of inflation to arrive in coming months. And we have to take that into account. So I think a backward looking look would lead you to a neutral stance, but we can't, we have to look at that. And because the economy is still solid, we can take the time to actually see what's going to happen. There's a range of possibilities on how large the inflation effects and the other effects are going to be. So we'll make smarter and better decisions if we just wait a couple of months or however long it takes to get a sense of really what is going to be the pass-through of inflation and what's going to be the effects on spending and on hiring and all those things.
Michael McKee from Bloomberg Radio and Television. Your friend down at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue continues to lob insults in your direction. And I'm wondering, given now that the Supreme Court has maybe carved out the Fed from some of the legal implications of that, whether this is just noise that the markets and everybody should ignore until your term is up, or whether you worry that it could lead to more pressure on confidence on Wall Street, on consumers about the outlook for the economy.
Okay. From my standpoint, it's not complicated. What everyone on the FOMC wants is a good, solid American economy with strong labor market and price stability. That's what we want. We think our policy is well positioned right now to deliver that and to be able to respond in a timely way as the data lead us around. The economy's been resilient, and part of that is our stance. And again, we think we're in a good place on that to respond to significant economic developments. That's what matters. That is what matters to us. Pretty much that's all that matters to us.
I need to ask, assuming you are not reappointed, would you stay on as governor? when your term as chair ends?
I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about this.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I guess with workplace raids increasing, picking up significantly, what kind of effect would that have on the labor market
Sorry,
in the short
with
term?
what picking up?
Workplace raids.
So you're asking immigration?
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't want to speculate. One way to get at that from an economic standpoint, we of course don't comment on immigration policy. It's not ours to make or comment on. But what you see is an unemployment rate that has been really solid and at a low level, not really increasing. It's been in a good range and well within the range of mainstream estimates of maximum employment. And that means, like, part of that is that labor demand and labor supply are kind of moving down at the same rate. Labor demand is softening. You see that in job creation, but it's still kind of at a healthy level. And labor supply is diminishing because the immigration numbers that we see are much lower than they were. So those two factors, supply and demand, that's what has kept the unemployment rate in a reasonably stable place.
Okay, thanks. The other thing I wanted to follow up on is if you could elaborate on the potential changes to the SCP that you suggested were part of the framework review, I think.
So the framework review really has two tracks, right? The first track is our policy framework that is reflected in the consensus statement. And we've said that we would finish that and announce it by the end of the summer. So we're well along in that process. We've had the meetings that we need to have, and we're now going to be going into, into discussions about, specific changes to language. So that's the framework part of it. The second part of it is our communications tools and practices. Pardon me. And that part comes next.
What's going on over there?
Okay, that's what we're going to do in the meetings this fall.
I need some
Actually,
water.
what we did at this meeting, though, is we sort of prepared the ground for that. We had a meeting where we talked at a high level about a number of ideas. The SCP is part of it.
The fuck going on over here?
Many other ideas. It's sort of, how do we think our communication
Market
can be
tanking?
improved? There are a number of
can't
ideas.
talk.
People offered a really, it was a great conversation. A number of ideas, but we're going to look at those with staff briefing and a lot of thought in the fall. And I would say when it comes to changing communications,
Every time he does that shit, the market
I would
spawns
only
another red
I
candle.
would only support things really that only implement things that have very broad support. And also, you want to be really careful.
Good for me, cash secured put.
I think our communications are pretty well received. They're not broken. So more is not necessarily better, but better is better. So we're going to be looking at ways to do things that will improve the clarity of what we do for the benefit of the public.
Yeah, we can't talk.
Thanks, Chair Powell. Kelly O'Grady, CBS News. You're famously known as the guy that makes decision based on data instead of speculation. You said
The
today
fuck?
the inflation data is in a good place. You don't know how
The
tariffs are
fuck?
going to impact
Every time he goes,
going forward.
the
That's
market
fair.
spawns a red
But
candle.
I've got to go back to the last time that you cut rates in December, and there was still the what if of tariffs. So what made you feel comfortable
Red
cutting
candle.
then when inflation was higher than where it is today and you didn't cut today?
Well, the forecast for inflation in December was 2.5%. Core PCE for 2025, the forecast was 2.5%, which was a good inflation forecast. I think what we've learned is that, and this was long before we had any idea of what the actual policies
What the
would be.
fuck?
We've learned that tariffs are going to be substantially larger than forecasters generally.
Every time he
thought.
does
And,
that shit, the red
our
candle.
forecasts are generally not particularly different from those of other, well-resourced
How's Hood doing?
forecasting operations. So what we learned, and particularly in April, was that very substantially larger tariffs were coming, and that would mean higher inflation. That's what happened. And so you saw 2.5% forecast in December, you saw 2.8% in March, and you see 3.1% now. So it's 0.6 higher inflation for 2025, and that's a big part of the change, and that's due to the effects of the tariffs that are, we don't know where they're going to land, but it's pretty apparent they're going to land higher than outside forecasters were really guessing at the end of last year.
My follow-up to that, I think consumers, right, we're looking for relief on rates when it
What?
comes to mortgages, car loans. Small businesses want to take out more manageable loans. When you look at the cumulative inflation over the past 5 years, prices have risen over 20%. It's been a rough road. So what is the tipping point then for the wait and see approach in terms of how much it's going to help versus when it hurts the American consumer?
Well, I mean, we're trying to restore price. Best thing we can do for the public that we serve is restore price stability. If we can, and we will, restore price stability, meaning 2% inflation on a durable, sustainable basis. That, and also maximum employment. If we restore those things, that's the best thing, and that is our goal. The best thing we can do for the American people, for households and businesses, that is the ultimate thing that we can deliver. And they can make their decisions without having to think about inflation all the time. So in the meantime, we have to keep rates high to get inflation all the way down. They're not very high, let's be honest. I would say policy is modestly or moderately, probably modestly now restrictive. If you look at the economy, it's not performing as though it were performing under very strict monetary policy, very restrictive monetary policy. So I would say probably modestly restrictive. And so what it will take is confidence that inflation is coming down. Now, I would say without tariffs, that confidence would be building, because if you see what's happening with non-housing services and housing services, which are the other two big pieces other than goods, those are coming down really nicely now. So I think we have to learn a little more about tariffs. I don't know what the right way for us to react will be. I think it's hard to know with any confidence how we should react until we see really the size of the effects. And then we could start to make a better judgment. So that's what we're doing. And I think we can take the time to do that because unemployment is 4.2%. Wages are moving up. Real wages are moving up at a healthy clip now. And inflation is 2.3% headline inflation over a 12-month basis. So it's a good economy and a solid economy with decent growth.
What the fuck? No.
Thank you, Chair Powell. So you're saying that uncertainty has come down, the economy is moving at a solid pace, inflation has come down over the past 3 months, and this is all moving in the right direction. So are you indicating here that Americans should expect some sort of economic pain in the second half of the year?
I'm not saying that at all. From our standpoint, what I can say is that the U.S. economy is in solid shape. Inflation has come down. The unemployment rate remains at 4.2%. As I mentioned, real wages are moving up. It's a good job creation is at a healthy level. Unemployment, again, as I said, low. Labor force participation in a good place. So, and what we're waiting for to reduce rates is to understand what will happen with really the tariff inflation. And there's a lot of uncertainty about that. Every forecaster you can name who is a professional, forecaster with adequate resources and forecasts for a living is forecasting pretty significant. Everyone that I know is forecasting a meaningful increase in inflation in coming months from tariffs because someone has to pay for the tariffs. And it will be someone in that chain that I mentioned between the manufacturer, the exporter, the importer, the retailer, ultimately somebody putting it into a good of some kind or just the consumer buying it. And all through that chain, people will be trying not to be the ones who pick up the cost, but ultimately the cost of the tariff has to be paid. And some of it will fall on the end consumer. We know that because that's what businesses say. That's what the data say from past. So we know that's coming. And we just want to see a little bit of that before we make judgments prematurely.
And follow up on that. So you spent years though talking about how you're data dependent, and be a little more direct on this. Now you're making decisions looking forward. Doesn't the data you're seeing today indicate there should be a rate cut?
No, I mean, your monetary policy has to be forward looking. That is elementary. You've got to be looking. I always talk about the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. We say that over and over and over again. Right. So it's always forward looking. If at the very beginning of the pandemic, we cut rates to zero immediately. Nothing had happened. We just knew that it was going to be really bad. Right. So we took very aggressive forward looking because we knew things were going to be unusually difficult. So, of course, this is something we sort of know is coming. We just don't know the size of it. And again, the economy seems to be in solid shape. So the labor market's not crying out for a rate cut. Businesses, were in a bit of shock after April 2, but you see business sentiment, you talk to business people now, there's a very different feeling now that people are working their way through this and they understand how they're going to go, and it feels much more positive and constructive than it did 3 months ago, let's say. So again, we think that our current stance of monetary policy is in a good place.
Thank you. Amara Mokway with Bloomberg. Chair Powell, in February, you told Congress that the Fed is, quote, overworked, maybe not overstaffed. Then in a memo to staff in May announcing a deferred resignation program at the Fed, you said you wanted to ensure that the Fed was, quote, right-sized. Those two statements appear to be at odds with one another. Could you explain what changed in the roughly 3 months between those statements that made you decide that staff levels at the Fed should decline?
I don't see them at all as intention. So I was asked, is the Fed overstaffed? And I said, no, and I sort of said as a pun, overworked, but not overstaffed. People do work extremely hard at the Fed, and I know they work hard at Bloomberg too. So, but we work hard, but I would say this. So we are careful stewards of public resources, and sometimes you need to show that. So there have been several times in our history, modern history, where the Fed has said, you know what, we're going to do a buyout. We're going to show the public, we're going to demonstrate that we are good stewards of public resources. So we thought, and I thought that this is a time when we can, we grow at about, our headcount has grown at about 1% a year. So over the course of a couple of years, we're doing a careful scrub of the board and all the reserve banks, and we're going to find 10% of employees who can do something else, where we can streamline our operations, and we think we can get there in a couple of years. We think we can do that, and we think this is without taking risk to carrying out our critical missions. So this is something you do very carefully, thoughtfully, and you do it again respecting that we have critical missions to carry out. I've had a lot of experience in my prior careers, with headcount reductions and things like that. And this is how you do it professionally. You do it carefully, thoughtfully, with a lot of planning, and you do it over a period of time. I think the Fed will be fine. I think no one will notice any decline in our ability to carry out our missions. And I think it's just us wanting to demonstrate to the public that we are actually good stewards of their resources. We're effectively wiping out 10 years of headcount growth with this. So, I mean, we wanted to show that, that we're good stewards.
How is progress on reducing headcount going so far? Are you on track to meet the goal?
We're just at the very beginning. As you know, we're doing a buyout program. We're gonna hit that goal. I think many organizations find that they can do this. You don't want to do it every year or anything, but you can do it at intervals, and you wind up not interfering with your ability to perform your jobs.
Chair Powell, Claire Jones from the Financial Times. As you're no doubt aware, the Senate Finance Committee has tabled its version of the reconciliation bill this week, and I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the tenor of the debate at the FOMC over the past few days on fiscal policy and the degree to which that influenced people's projections for 2026 and beyond. Thank you.
Yeah, so we don't sit around and debate or really discuss. We take fiscal policy as fully exogenous, and so we actually really didn't talk about the bill or the contents of it. It's still evolving. When it gets closer, remember also we have a very, very large economy, and that the effects will be at the margin, I expect that they may already be in, but they will be in by the next meeting. We'll make an estimate, but it's not a major thing. It's nothing that we discuss. It may have been mentioned a couple of times, but as something that's coming in. But I think the outcome is, we don't know the outcome yet there, so hard to be real specific.
Neil. Thanks, Chair Powell. Neil Irwin with Axios. There have been some cutbacks in economic statistics collection in the last few weeks. Worries that long-running problems around funding and response rates may be getting worse. How much is this concern on your radar? How much confidence do you have that the gauges you're watching to assess the economy are reliable right now?
Two things. One, the data we get right now, we can do our jobs. I'm not concerned that we can't do our jobs. that's not the point. The point really is that we are starting to see, layoffs and important gatherers of data are saying that they're having to cut back on the size of their surveys. That's going to lead to more volatility in the surveys. I think we should take a step back and, from our standpoint, and I think the standpoint of businesses and governments and everyone, having really good data on the state of the economy at any given time is a huge public good. It helps, it not just doesn't help the Fed, it helps the government, it helps Congress, it helps the executive branch. More importantly, really, it helps businesses. They need to know what's going on in the economy. The United States has been a leader for many, many years in this whole project of measuring and understanding what's happening in our very large and dynamic economy. And I hate to see us cutting back on that, because it is a real benefit to the general public that people in all kinds of jobs have the best possible understanding of what's happening in the economy and hence what's likely to happen. It's very hard to measure what's going on in the U.S. economy. If you read, there was a book called, it's really remarkable how many things you need to understand to estimate U.S. GDP. Very, very difficult. And it's so important that we get it right. I just would say it's not a place I would want to keep investing in that, for the good of the general public.
Are you done yet? Damn.
Hi, Victoria Guida with Politico.
God.
So you're conducting this monetary policy strategy framework review, but next year we're supposed to have a new Fed chair, and I'm wondering if that affects at all the way that you're approaching this. How do you ensure that this framework will actually be durable?
The framework document goes back to 2012, and it's the committee's document. It's not like we're going to invent a brand new way to do things. It's been an evolving document, so it shouldn't depend on who the chair is at all. It should depend on what's happening in the economy and what the committee wants to do. So, yeah, it isn't really tied to any particular chair. And we used to renew it every year. Now we do it every 5 years. So, but I don't think I've never heard anyone raise this issue that a new chair might want to come in and go in a completely different direction. I really don't think that's right. But that's not going to be up to me to decide.
Is that affecting at all who you're consulting with?
Not at all. Not in any way.
Thank you. Chair Powell, Matt Egan from CNN. Relatively low gas prices this year have helped drive down inflation in recent reports, but that trend is starting to reverse given the crisis in the Middle East. How are you thinking about how the Israel-Iran conflict will impact the economy, especially inflation? And what lessons were learned during the 2022 period when another conflict, the Russia-Ukraine war, sent oil and gas prices skyrocketing?
So, of course, we're watching, like everybody else is, what's going on. I really don't have any comment on that. Possible that we'll see higher energy prices. What's tended to happen is when there's turmoil in the Middle East, you may see a spike in energy prices, but tends to come down. Those things don't generally tend to have lasting effects on inflation, although, of course, in the 1970s, they famously did, because you had a series of very, very large shocks. But we haven't seen anything like that now. The U.S. economy is far less dependent on foreign oil than it was back in the 1970s. So, but there.
A quick follow-up. I've just got to ask you about artificial intelligence. Some technology executives have recently been warning that AI could wipe out a large chunk of entry-level jobs and significantly increase the unemployment rate. I'm wondering how concerned you are, if at all, about the threat that AI poses to employment.
So this is the question. Question really is, will AI be more augmenting labor or replacing labor? And we all see those announcements, including one today. I wouldn't, overread a couple of data points, because, AI should be creating jobs at the same time. It may be replacing, maybe doing both. Anyone who's done any work with AI will have been a little bit stunned at how capable it is. And it's just a different thing. So I think this is something that certainly has transformational potential, and probably we're in the very early stages of it. You know, they say what you're seeing now compared to what you'll see in 2 years is going to be very different and even more effective. So I think it's really hard to know. That, you know, of course, there are optimists who feel like it's going to make everybody much more productive.
Oh shit!
And there are those who think it's going to replace
What
an awful
happened?
lot of jobs right across the income spectrum. You know, white collar, blue collar,
How did
and
these
everything.
just
So
jump up in
I
price?
just don't know. We don't have a house view on that, but this is going to be a very important question for some time.
Why did it just jump up like that?
Thank you. Greg Rapp from MarketWatch. I was wondering if you could step back a little bit, Chair Powell. You know, there's a spate of articles and a lot of op-eds now in the newspapers saying that the U.S. economy and the global economy is going through this profound change, you know, akin to the end of the Bretton Woods era in the 1970s. Don't you owe the American people like some sort of like explanation for what we're going through? I mean, I noticed earlier this month when you talked about Bretton Woods a little bit, and you said that Bretton Woods, the Fed staff had to like change how the dollar movements of the dollar was impacting the economy. Are we going through something like that now? That, you know, are you having to change how you do monetary policy? Is it that fundamental a change underway? Thanks.
It's certainly a time of real change. You know, from a geopolitical standpoint, from a trade standpoint, from an immigration standpoint, you see this not just here but everywhere. So there's quite a lot going on. It doesn't change the way we do monetary policy in the near term. I mean, but and it doesn't change our objectives or what we need to do. And you know, these things are not really our issues. They're really issues for elected governments. All of those issues are really for elected governments. But there's no question it's a time of real change, and very hard to see where that goes. You know, will it be? There have been many things written about how it's going to be a more inflationary time. That's possible. It's not guaranteed. You know, AI could cut in a very other direction. AI could make people much more productive and push in the other direction. I don't know though. So, but you're right. But honestly, our focus is a much more practical one, and that is how do we keep inflation low and employment high in the near term. That's really what we're about.
Damn, how many questions they asking him, bro?
Hello, Chairman Powell. Mark Hamrick with Bankrate. What is the view about the growing amount of slack in the job market, including the softening in payrolls, the forecast of a modest rise in the unemployment rate, and the ability of workers to demand wage hikes or not in this environment where you have inflation surging?
You don't really see unemployment going up. You don't see increased slack really. I mean, at the margin, remember you're at 4.2% unemployment. That was for many years, that was a extremely low level. It happens to have come up off of an even lower level as we came out of the pandemic. We were as low as 3.4%, but 4.2% is probably at the low end of estimates of the longer run, sustainable level of natural rate of unemployment. So I guess I wouldn't agree with that. And also in terms of wages, you know, real wages after inflation have been moving up sort of more than was consistent with 2% inflation. They're still moving up at a healthy clip, and I think much more consistent with 2% inflation given a reasonable assessment of trend productivity. So it's a pretty good labor market. You know, you're right that the level of job creation has come down, but so has the supply of workers, the change in the supply, the new supply. So you've seen the unemployment rate remain pretty stable at 4.2. It's been as high as 4.3, but you know, those are good numbers. So it's a pretty good labor market. There's a more concerning thing is there are not a lot of layoffs, but there are not a lot of job creation. The number, if you're out of work, it's hard to find a job, but very few people are being laid off at this point. So that's an equilibrium we watch very carefully, because if there were to be significant layoffs and the job finding rate were to remain this low, you would have an increase in unemployment fairly quickly. But that hasn't happened. It really hasn't happened. The U.S. economy has defied all kinds of forecasts for it to weaken really over the last 3 years. And it's been remarkable to see just again and again when people think it's going to weaken. Now, eventually it will, but we don't see signs of that now.
Go to Jean for the last question. Hi, Chair Powell, Jean Young with MNI Market News. There's been a lot of talk about cuts. I wanted to ask you, why do you think there are no forecasts for rates to rise or even to stay where they are next year, given that the projection for inflation is to rise to 3%, and there's a lot of there's some skepticism over whether those price hikes will be a one-time event.
So there are a number of people on the committee who wrote down no cuts this year, but some cuts next year. So, I think, people are writing down their most likely path, right? They're not saying there's zero possibility of other things. Really, it's think of it as the least unlikely path in a situation like this where uncertainty is very high. I think, again, people write down their rate paths, and they do not have like a really high conviction that this is exactly what's going to happen over the next 2 years. No one feels that way about their rate path. They feel like, what am I going to write down? I mean, what would you write down? It's not easy to do that with confidence. So I would just say it that way. We don't rule things in or out. Certainly a hike is not the base case at all. It's not something people are writing down. But in the meantime, we do the best we can with these forecasts, and I think they're representative of the different forecasts and different reaction functions that people on the committee have. So thank you very much. Thanks.
Did you finish? Oh. Just give me 5 minutes. I gotta move it back to the chart. I farted. All right. So, man, that was boring, guys. So, in this dump right here, actually, I think it was here. So, I was looking at UPRO because UPRO is leveraged SPY. I'll just go to it. There you go, UPRO. So I was looking at it. We had that big dump down here, which I missed out on buying down here. So, as this was coming down, I thought I would sell a cash secured put on UPRO for $81. And I got wicked into it literally right here at the very, very end right here. I got wicked into the position. And then so far it's worked out. I'm up 29% on it. The average cost, I tried to get it for 90, but I couldn't do it. So it went down to 85. I went down to $85. So I could sell this at the end of the day if I wanted to, depending on how the market does. It seems like it might just kind of even out here. And the longer it does that, the better for me. One, also IV will go down on these contracts. IV right now is 57%. And you can see my position is all the way. Let me go down to it. I don't know if it's going to pick it up into the thing, but my position, this shit never wants to fucking focus, bro. Come on. Focus. Come on. Focus. Okay. You see my position right there at $81? That's my position right there at $81 right there. Right there. That's my position. It says -1 because I sold a contract. Sold it for $85, and I could hold it over, this weekend and stuff, whatever. I might. It just depends on how much I'm already up on it. A lot of uncertainty going on still with Iran. I think they want to work out a deal and stuff. I mean, if the market opened Friday morning and it was flat, I'd it would be up like 50, 60, 70%, something like that. So maybe even higher. It just depends on the IV, because right now the IV is really high and it's holding it up. So yeah, I think I don't know. I think I might just hold on to it. I don't know if I want to hold on to. I don't know if I want U Pro though. You know what I mean? Like, do I want U Pro? I'm looking at it. U Pro is basically just the leveraged S&P 500. Like, that's it. It never goes to zero. Like, it won't, like, it's basically the S&P 500 but cheaper contracts. So that's kind of what it is. Um, so now I'm just seeing, like, what do I want to do? Do I hold on to it and, hold on to it over, because theta, why bother day trading when statistically the S&P 500 uh, cost averaging wins 98% of the time? Well, what I'm doing is I'm selling the option. I'm not exactly day trading. I'm just selling. I'm selling somebody else the option. So I'm guaranteed, if I hold on to this cash secured put to expiration, I am guaranteed to make $85. If I do get assigned the shares, then I will have 100 shares of UPRO, which is the leveraged version of the S&P 500. Which is good, right? I mean, when you can look it up for yourself. I can go on Legend right now and look up UPRO. I can look up the 1 year time frame. It will look exactly the same. So this is UPRO's 1 year time frame. I'll go to SPY, look at SPY's 1 year time frame. It looks exactly the same. You would not be able to tell a difference because it is the exact same thing. So what I'm doing is I'm just selling somebody else the option to gamble on this. And yeah, I mean, if I get assigned it, that's fine. I'll just sell a covered call on it and then just keep wheeling it back and forth like that. So probably no more tasks for me today. I might just hold on to it, whatever. I feel like I got a good entry at 7 or at 85. I wish I could have got it at 90, but I didn't. Market's kind of coming down again. I don't know. Do we see like an end of day dump? That would be the only thing that would kind of suck for me, is if we have like an end of day dump, which we're kind of moving down right now. I don't know. I don't see why we would. I feel like we've come down enough. Plus, I mean, when you look at the trend, we've had this low, higher low, we've had this high, higher high, higher high. It's just we did wick off this 200. But I think we just hold steady for the next 30 minutes. I don't know why we would want to. Why do you want to dump it, right before the end of the day? What's the point of that? What are they gaining from dumping it right now? Kind of annoying if they do, though, not gonna lie. I'm gonna go use the restroom real quick and we'll see if they dump it by the time I get back. All right, looks like they do want to just dump the market at the end of the day. Interesting. That 599 put I called is up 30% since 2. Yeah, very good. I don't know why it happened. I was kind of just chilling in bed. It was so boring to listen to that, but the good news, the thing that I have on my side with this cash secured put is theta. It's going to be a lot of theta because it's going to be $32 a day. So, right, let's say the ask when it finishes is 90. That'd be 9,876, 534. So it'd be about $40 gone. Yeah, it looks like it's kind of annoying that they want to dump it at the end of the day, though. I mean, there's only 30 minutes of market left. I wish I understood this better. It's not that hard. If you're here, I can explain it for you. I can explain it for you. Give me a sec. So hopefully you can see this. This is what I'm doing. It's called the wheel, right? So I sold a cash secured put on UPRO, which is just leveraged S&P 500, right? I sold it for an average credit of $85. So I immediately, no strings attached, I gain $85 for selling the put. Now, let's say that UPRO goes down to the break even of $80.15 and it goes under it, and I get assigned 100 shares of UPRO. What I would do is then I would sell a covered call on the UPRO shares that I was assigned, right? Because when I sell a put, what I'm saying is, listen. Yeah, you could check out the video too. But this is a little bit different. What I'm saying is, let's imagine there's someone right here, and they're saying, "I want your shares." They want my shares, right? Or no, how do I explain it? What I'm saying is to somebody else is that you can gamble on my contract, and if you are right, I will buy these shares for I think is $81 each. Right now, UPRO is $82.66. So what I'm saying is if UPRO falls under $81 or $80.15 in this case, I will buy 100 shares for $81. Then I have 100 shares. What I will do is I will sell a call to somebody else with those 100 shares. So I will say, okay, I bought it for $81 each. I now want to sell these shares for $82 each or $83 each. And then if the price goes up and it goes past 81 or 82, $83, I would then sell those shares to somebody else, and then I would do it again. So then I would find something else. I would sell a put contract on it. If it gets assigned, I will sell a call on it. If that happens and I get assigned on that, I'll sell the shares again. Basically, it's just called the wheel strategy. Now, one thing that I want to mention and why this is so good versus just buying calls or puts is that everything is on your side. You are, in essence, the market maker. You are, I like selling out the money. I would have sold strike at 84.85, get some more premium. Yeah, you could do that. It all depends on how much you want to get, right? Like this one, the average credit was $85, right? So I just took that. But when you sell contracts, you're the market maker. People buy stuff from you. They take the risk. They take the whole gamble, right? They're saying that they think the market's going to go down. It's all them. And you have Theta on your side. Theta is like what was the thing? Okay, you're probably not going to understand this, but you might. Theta is like Goku and Vegeta fusing together to create Vegito. You're not gonna understand that shit. Theta is like you getting in a boxing ring and the other person doesn't even have boxing gloves on. Yeah, that seems a little bit fair, right? Theta is like taking an exam, but you have your laptop with full internet and you're able to cheat. Theta is like you ask out one girl, you bring one girl home, but she brings another friend home. So now you got two girls. That's what Theta is like. Theta is totally your friend because as time passes, this contract's going to lose value, assuming that you pro what you're looking at right now, assuming that this doesn't just crash down, doesn't just start falling down really hard. And that's it. That's the wheel strategy. Are they doing the fusion dance or using the earrings? They're doing the fusion dance. I really like the fusion dance where they go whoop, whoop. They're doing that. They're doing all that. They're doing the fusion dance. God, I love that shit. Back when I played Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2. Oh, bro, I still remember that one. Was it Budokai 2? DBZ Budokai 2. I think that's the one where they were like, yeah, it was Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2. God, I loved that game. Like, it was so ass, but I loved it so much as a kid because you were like this little jumping dot thing, I remember, and you'd fight. And then I remember Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Bro, Tenkaichi 3 was like peak Dragon Ball Z. Like, that was one of my favorite games. Initial release date 2004. Yeah, that was like the shit, bro. So I was born in 1996. So I was what, 8? Yeah, I was 8 when Tenkaichi 3 came out. That was like so fun, bro. But regardless, yeah. So selling options is one of the best things you could do. Now, the only thing is, if you wanted to buy this option, it's only going to cost you currently $70. If you wanted to sell this option, you would need $8,100. So there is a little bit of a difference. There is a little bit of a, because because when you're selling, you have to own the shares. Robinhood does not let you do naked shorts. And I don't believe they let you do naked calls either. I don't believe you can do either of those. I don't think that they allow you to do that. So, which is good. It's a safety measure. But yeah, the more time that passes by now, it's 3:39. The more time that passes and we're flat, IV will drop. IV will start to go down. And especially now that Jerome Powell is done, let me check out what the IV is on these contracts now. 59%. It's actually grown. That's weird. That's weird. Why is this $81 one? I'm assuming the further, okay, so the further down you go, it's going to be more IV. But yeah, as for like when we come back on Friday, the IV should be low. It shouldn't be too high IV. Which IV, what it'll do is it'll make the price go up. But yeah. Yeah. That's that. Oh, wow. Trump was speaking as well 13 minutes ago. So he was speaking at the same time that what's his name was speaking, Jerome Powell. I didn't even know. All right, let's see. Yeah, I can dismiss that. I got rid of that. I got a copyright infringement on my last stream. I think that's why it was taken down. So what I did is I just deleted it just now. Oh well. So I can't what's it called? I wouldn't earn anything from the other stream. But it's cool because I got this stream open now and I don't have anything copyrighted going on, so it's cool. Video is doing okay today. The one where I did quality rating system is a joke. 335 views in the first 7 hours, so not horrible. Not horrible. Still going to take me some time to get back to where I was. Although, I mean, it's picking up a little bit. 1.7K views on the pro shopping order one, 2.2K views on that one. So today's video, I think I still have all of my old videos, but instead of making them public again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, like, I'm going to go to views and I'm going to go views over 3,000. Oops, views over 3,000. Apply that. And then I'll see like what did people like. So why you should delete DoorDash today, or DoorDash is about to get really bad. 93% of DoorDash drivers earn less than $20 an hour. Like, I can reuse that. So now you'll have to do double ads Friday. No, I think it should be okay. I might work a little bit more tomorrow just because there's no market, or maybe what I can do is work on a second channel video. Ugh. This one did well. This one did really well. So a lot of times, some of my best videos were where I included a number and a percentage. So 93% of DoorDash drivers earn less than $20 an hour, got me 6,700 views. And then 83% of DoorDash drivers are screwed, got me 7,100 views. So what I'm literally just going to do is go back and steal these titles. Wow, this one got me 23,000 views. The reality of being a Walmart Spark driver. Yeah, Walmart Spark was like new. You should do, is DoorDash stealing tips again? I could. That's actually a good one as well. Is DoorDash stealing tips again? But I would need something to happen in the video like that kind of makes sense with that. So I could say I could do an order. No, because that would only work on Uber. Because you know how on Uber, when you do a shopping order, if you don't find anything, you lose a portion of the tip. On DoorDash, I wouldn't know how to do that. But yeah, I'm just gonna take something from here. And the Walmart Spark videos were insane. If I could go back in time, I would just continue to make hella Walmart Spark videos, because those were getting like 50,000 views, 40,000 views. I was like, what the hell? DoorDash is a dead end job. Oh no, DoorDash catering order hack. That one got me 7,300 views. I clickbaited the fuck out of y'all, bro. I took some random picture, slapped on $330 on that shit and said, yup, that looks good. Those were the days, man. Those were the days. Warning, learn Spanish or quit DoorDash. And then I posted some bullshit picture, Dashers must learn Spanish. Like, I would click that shit. I was doing good as fuck back in the day. Damn. I had a whole picture that said Dashers must learn Spanish with a giant red arrow. What else did I do? Shocking, DoorDash is changing fast. That one's a good one. Okay, so this one was just making 762 in one weekend. Stop delivering for DoorDash. DoorDash customer wanted a fight. The DoorDash decline. About to quit DoorDash. Those were great. DoorDash left me speechless, and then I posted some picture with a fucking $650 order. Doxing no tip DoorDash cuz yeah, probably not that one. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do that one. No. Oh, this one was a good one. Spark deactivating illegal immigrants. F ** K Uber Eats. Quit DoorDash, join Spark scammers. Yeah, bro, I was doing great. Holy shit. A lot of my videos, I never realized this, but a lot of my videos got like over 5K, close to 10K. I mean, yeah, another Spark one, 21,000 views. New Spark glitch to check in early, not airplane mode. I was thinking of doing something similar with DoorDash and saying, making a how-to video, like how to dash when the map is gray. That's what I was thinking of doing today. That is what I was thinking. That is what I was thinking of doing today. Just be like, talk about like, because it doesn't have to be like super long. I just have to touch on the shit and be like, yeah, so if you want to dash when the map is gray, what you got to do is you got to go open up your DoorDash app and then you got to click dash along the way. And then what you'll start doing is you're going to start getting orders within your zone. And the longer you stay in your zone, then they'll actually let you request to change the zone when your market or when the zone that you're in turns pink. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do today. Because how-to videos seem to get a lot of money. And I think a lot of people, especially now in summer, are going to be looking up like how to dash when the map is gray. So that's what I'm going to be going for today. It's going to be good. All right, so this U Pro, I'm currently up 29%. I might just hold it, honestly. Theta is going to help me out a lot, and I don't know how much more we're really going to drop. Definitely something can happen over like the 1 day we're gone, but it's the only thing that's got me a little spooked. Yeah, like something can really happen. I want to see if maybe, I don't know how much more theta I'm going to be able to get from this. I might just buy it back, actually. I'm kind of worried about Iran, not going to lie. Let me buy this back. Can I buy it for 0.60? No one's selling it for 0.60. I don't want to buy it for 65 because then I'll lose a little bit more. I'll lose $5 off the top. Now let me replace it. Nobody's selling it to me for 0.60. Let me cancel it. Yeah, I'm like the one. I was the one offer that wanted to buy it for that much. Let's see. If it could drop to 0.55, that'd be nice, and then I could sell it for 0.60. I've always wondered if theta accounts for market close days. Like, will theta cool over a 4-day weekend, or does each day have some decay weather? No, it's every day. It does not matter, holiday or not. Theta takes into account every single day. That's why I was thinking of actually just holding it over, because this contract would lose 2 days worth of theta. It would lose the theta tomorrow, right, overnight tonight, and then it would lose the theta at that night again as well. So that, like, bro, it's insane. Like, selling options is freaking awesome. But yeah, that's how that works. You gain theta. It could be a 5-day weekend. You'll gain all that theta, all yours. What the hell? My thing just spiked back. I think somebody just purchased it for 0.80 or something. I was just up 25%. What happened with SPY? There's no way in this one red candle it just took back 23%. What? What happened? Yeah, last trade, someone just bought it for 84. Why is this? Oh, because it's 350. Oh, I totally forgot. Yeah, it's 350. So I just got hella IV'd on this shit, bro. The bid is 15 and the ask is 125. Oh my goodness. Well, at least 350 didn't completely ruin me. This is kind of selling off. All right, so it's back to 0.65. I totally forgot about 350. That could definitely be a great arbitrage opportunity, selling options just on long weekends and buyback. Yeah, totally. Totally. That's what I'm thinking about doing with this, except the only thing with this is it's not an individual stock. It's like leveraged SPY. Market's coming down a little bit. Kind of worried that we're just gonna... Kind of worried if we just come all the way back down and it just ruins all of my profits right now. Which it looks like it's kind of doing. Can I sell this? I can't because the bid is Yeah, I kind of don't like this. The bid is 0.35 and the ask is 90. Like, what do I do? I'm gonna try buying it for 0.60 and seeing if that works. Oh no. I want to see. It might sell for 0.60. If we can pull up here, it might sell for 0.60 and then I'll be out of it. Damn, really? Come on. The day where I fucking have a cash secured put, then it's red. All the other days I pick green and it never fucking... here we go. All right, so I'm fucked now. I'm fucked completely. They're not going to sell me this shit for 0.60. I'm down on this position now, I think. No, I'm up a little bit. Cancel the order. Well, there goes all that. I was up 25%. Now I'm only up 15 bucks. Doesn't have enough open interest. You got to pick stuff with tighter spreads. Yeah, that was yeah. Yeah, open interest is very low. Only 203. Volume is only 21. There just was nothing else was the issue. Everything else like dumped with the market, but it was all still green. All right, come on. That's enough dumping. No more dumping. Come on. IV should go back to normal here, though. Yeah, IV's back to normal now. I wonder if I could have bought it for or sold it for 145. I wonder if it would have let me. I don't think anybody would have been buying it. All right, green candle. Looks like I might just hold this. Might just hold it until Friday. And then I'll sell it at like market open or something like that. When hopefully the market doesn't open super low. Hopefully nothing stupid happens with Iran. But then again, it's leveraged shares of SPY. So whatever SPY does, I mean, it'll do exactly the same thing. Got 6 minutes. Still looking good. So now I'm going to go ahead and chill out, maybe take a nap. If we could go back up, that'd be even better. They just love selling off. They just love selling off when I have cash secured puts, don't they? I mean, if they want me to own the shares, I'll own it. Like, it's cool, man. If y'all really want me to own the shares that bad, I'll own it. Nah, should be fine. I mean, I sold it at 85 cents each, so I'm still technically doing okay. And it would have to fall $2, $2.50 for me to lose it all, or not lose it all, but get assigned. They really want to, though. Look at this. Every candle is going to be red, huh, to end the day. They're just going to do that, aren't they? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Oh, there we go. Current price is 60 again. Current price is 60. Can I get out of it for 60 is the question. No, I can't. Just went to 63. Well, you know what? Theta's on my side. Theta will still take its cut. So for 2 days worth, 2 nights worth of theta. So I can't even be mad. I've been assigned early before. That is not fun. I'm still so far away from it. UPro's at 82.52. And my thing is for $81 put. But the break even is $80.15. So if somebody wanted it, they really have to get it. They would really have to dump, which it's kind of doing right now. Of course, we're gonna make every candle red. I wish I would have remembered that 350 was a thing. I would have tried to just sell it up here. I mean, if we just close it out here, I'm cool with that. Like, let's just chill out. Like, stop dumping. Stop dumping. Why are you dumping? Why are we just going down the whole time, bro? Chill. There's no need to dump it in the last 4 minutes. But there we go. It's a shame I lost my other stream because of copyright, so I can't use those other songs. I don't know how they knew it perfectly which song I used, even though it was the slowed version. All right, this is going to be a green candle. It's higher up and it's, oh my God, no, it's not. Why are they dumping it, man? Hey, guys, chill. Iran is going to stop. Israel's going to stop. Things are going to be okay. We're dumping this shit for no reason, man. Let me see what else we got. Yeah, so I'll think of a good little video to make tonight for DoorDash. I got to get some more what's it called? What's it called? I got to get some more thumbnail pictures. Let me switch the account to see how my second channel is doing. Okay. 413 views on my newest video. Oh, I got to reply to this comment. Actually, there was a couple comments. Wow. Thank you. Will keep updating and will everyone as we get news as well. Reply. Congrats. Thank you. Smiley face. Congrats to you too. Thank you, Bobby. Boom. Smiley face. What? How am I only up $2 now? Did we really dump that much? Oh my God. We're really going to dump all the way to end the day. Fuck this whole market. Fuck this whole market, bro. All right. Guess I'm getting assigned 100 shares of UPro. Fun. I'm getting 100 shares of UPro assigned to me, guys. This should be fun. As soon as I get that shit, literally as soon as I get that shit, I'm selling a covered call. Selling a covered call for that fucking week, bro. They be fucking with me, man. Why they dump it like that? There was no need for this shit. No fucking need for that shit, but they did it anyway, bro. Come on. End the market so I can fucking get my theta, bro. Stop dumping it, man. Oh, man. They just love fucking fingering my ass, bro. Golly, they love fingering my butt, man. Close the market, bro, so I can just get this theta. They dumped it again. Oh, wow. They really dumped it right in my fucking face. Okay. All right. Good. Let's just stay green. Up we go. Come on. Up, green. There we go. Good. Close the market now. Close it. Close the market. Perfect. All right. Theta, kick in. Kick in, Theta. Kick in. Market is closed. And we're going back up. I love it. All right. Well, looks like I'm holding UPRO shit. I'm holding a UPRO cash secured put into Friday. I got a good average though. I bought it like somewhere down over here. It was down over here. No, right down over here is where I bought it. So yeah, whoever bought it now has to deal with 2 days worth of theta, which is great for me. Gonna go ahead and close everything out now. Good. Hopefully everybody made a bit of money. If you guys are interested, if anybody is interested in learning about cash secured puts, I could do a little live stream sometime this weekend. If you guys care, and I can literally go in depth everything. I don't want to make a whole video on it because it's just going to fuck with my algorithm and then my DoorDash content won't get pushed out. So if anybody is interested, I'll be on sometime this weekend. And we can go over how to do a cash secured put. I just don't know how many people here have enough money for it. Because you need at least, like, if you want to get a good stock, you're going to need at least $50 for $5,000, which would equate to a $50 stock. All right, looks like it's going to be some RuneScape for me later, a nap, and I'll be out DoorDashing later tonight. Look at that, nice and green, man, nice and green. I love it. Love that, man. Go back up. This person who bought this put is shaking in his fucking boots. Okay. Hope you enjoyed it. No market tomorrow, so I'm going to be pretty bored. Nap time? Nap time. All right. See you guys. In the